All right, podcast 54. Looky here, looky here, looky here. This is Craig Raid, aka the Stoned Roadie, on the Stoned Roadie Show with my co-host, Mr. Griff Martin, and the soon-to-be worldwide famous ZACK Lane. And take it away, Griff Martin.
Yeah, Zach Fingers Lane. That's my nickname for him, Zach Fingers Lane, because he sure knows how to work his fingers on that guitar. Zach's one of these guys, Craig, where you play your guitar all day, and you think you're doing good, and then you go on the internet and you see him on TikTok, and then you just take your guitar and throw it in the trash.
No.
You're like, man, I just been wasting my whole life on this thing.
Well, it's obvious that he had a lot of backing in his youth. He's got a whole bunch of nice guitars, and he's got the best microphone you can buy, one just like mine. He's got real good taste. But he's got some good equipment, and he obviously, his dad obviously backed him, severely in his quest to become worldwide famous, like the Stone Roadie. But Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about you talked about going to the school of that I forget the name of it there, so go ahead there, take it away, Zach.
Okay, yeah. Well, about Berkeley, that, basically how my parents kind of raised me, and I'm sure a lot of other parents were like this, where, they said either get a job or go to school. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Basically I chose school because I didn't want to get a job. So, I chose Berkeley mainly because, some of the greatest guitar players came out of Berkeley College of Music. Steve Vai, John Petrucci, he came out of there. Just these great, phenomenal guitar players came out of there. And it's strange because I never took any kind of really super duper technical classes. I tell you the classes I took a rock guitar course, and I took a blues guitar course. And to me, that was, I wanted to sharpen that's what I wanted to sharpen myself in, essentially. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I've always wanted to do, was, kind of that gnarly blues rock, that blues rock sound, just like Skynyrd and, on and on and on, bands that have that, ZZ Top. They're, they have that blues sound, but it's rock and roll, so that's what I've always wanted to do. So that's what I did. I chose that, and I spent, each course was 6 weeks. So, and those courses included the classic rock one, included a rhythm and kind of like almost like a funky kind of course, kind of a rhythm bass, getting the right hand and left hand, kind of in sync real good, and learning different chords as opposed to just the typical, A, E, and B type situation. It was technical in a sense, but it wasn't like shreddy technical. It was just like knowledge kind of stuff. So there was that, and there was of course a classic rock class, which was it taught, from Led Zeppelin to Jimi Hendrix, to just teaching songs, essentially, and licks, and I picked up a lot from that. It taught a lot of scales. I learned a lot from that one. And there was another one, I can't think of it right off to be honest, but there was another one. And then in the blues course, it was acoustic blues. Of course, like I guess electric blues, just blues guitar, and finger style, like on the acoustic, like with thumb picks and stuff. So I learned a lot from that one too. It was very interesting to step outside of my element. You know what I'm saying? To, because I'm used to playing just rock and roll, using a pick, electric guitar. I took, you know, took myself out of that and put myself into something I wasn't very familiar with. And, to me, that's what guitar is all about. That's how you get better, in my opinion. You work on stuff you're not used to, and you broaden your vocabulary. So,
Well, let's back up a little bit, Zach, and go back to your early beginnings when you were basically first inaugurated into music and instruments. Didn't your dad have a little garage band?
Someone told me that Zach wanted to be his first instrument was the drums.
right.
Yeah. And how old were you when you got a set of drums?
I was about 9 years old when I first, but it wasn't like a full blown set of drums. It wasn't like, it wasn't, I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was two itty bitty toms. It was a kid's kit, just like I would even go as far to say as a toddler kit. I was just 9 years old. So had these little bitty toms, two little bitty toms on it, a kick drum that was probably about this big. It was small, had a little cymbal on it. And I didn't learn much from that. My dad tried to teach me a few things on it, but it's hard to learn when you can't really take it that serious, And then eventually when I turned 10, a little later on, when I turned 10, my mom and dad bought me a black Ludwig kit. It wasn't it was a little smaller than a big kit, but it had snare, two rack toms, a floor tom, and a kick drum, and so and of course a ride. And I don't remember if I had two crashes at that time, but I definitely had a hi-hat, a ride, and a crash, so I had everything that I needed to learn AC/DC and simple stuff. And so at that point, that is where I was like, I started learning all these songs, and it lit a fire in me.
Was there music in the household going on? Is that why you became interested in it? You were seeing your
I think that. Well, I tell you the truth, it wasn't just that, but there was a lot of that going on. There was always some radio going on. If especially in the summertime, we'd be out here in the garage, which this used to be a garage. It's a room now, because we turned it into a room, turned it into a music room. But anyways, it used to be a garage, and he would always have the stereo on, always have the stereo on, just playing radio, just radio music. Usually it was classic rock. It was usually, I was hearing AC/DC, I was hearing Nazareth, but I could even go back as further than that. And I had a little cell phone. My brother had a phone, and I remember trying to find AC/DC music, when I was smaller than that. So it's, for some reason, it's just always rock music has just, for some reason, been in my DNA. I can't explain it, but it has. And, being a kid and everything, I'd play Guitar Hero and, see these guys up there playing guitar, and they were just, it's a video game. So, it's not really that serious, but, I would see them, and that influenced me, that became a part of me. So, I credit some of that to Guitar Hero as well. And my dad, of course.
So a lot of people don't know, but you live in Virginia, right?
I do.
And that's kind of like in that Tri-City area around Tennessee, Virginia,
right? It's
area.
Where I live. It's the best way to describe it. If you look at a picture of the state of Virginia. You know, that you see a little bitty tip at the, you know, kind of around Tennessee and Kentucky, kind of around that area. It just like on the little tip of Virginia.
So where you live is kind of remote, so there's not
It
a whole
is.
lot of things going on around there. So I guess that kind of helps you with your music. It keeps you, you know, something to do.
Right. See where I live, you know, a lot of kids, you know, and just it's I guess it's getting worse, as I'm not sure, but I'm sure it is that you know, it's video games and rap music and stuff. That's what's popular now. You know, it's not so much, you know, nobody plays guitar anymore. My age, you know,
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying my age. You know, that's not really something. It's kind of a lost craft, really. You know, it's not, you know, used to. I've heard stories, of course, my dad and some of my bandmates talk about, you know, times in the 80s and in the 90s, you know, of music being all around here, all around this area. And nowadays it's just, you know, nothing really.
Yeah, well, Craig and I was talking about that, and we, you know, everything comes back around again, right, Craig?
Exactly.
So,
Oh yeah, everything always comes back around. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's
it's
right.
like clothes styles, music. I think we're about tired of the rap thing. You know, that's I've had my share of that. I thought that was going to go away a long time ago. It hung on though. There's a few rap songs I like, you know, but some of them there's just no instruments, there's no talent in there. But so when did you switch over from the drums to the guitar?
I would say 12. I think that's probably when something like a thorn got in my side about it, you know.
What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a SG knockoff, but it was actually made by Gibson. It was called a Maestro. That my papa, actually, you know, my grandfather gave to me. He gave me that guitar. And so that was kind of a very
Whoa.
you know,
So he played, your grandfather played?
well, he tried. He tried when he was younger. You know, he just, you know, like I was telling you the other night or the other day about my dad. You know, he tried to play, you know, a little bit and learned a few chords, and you know, that's as far as it went. Same thing with my papa too.
So with that SG knockoff,
Yeah.
you just started playing. Like, how did you learn your first chords, and when was it that you impressed your parents and they said, hey, he's starting to pick this up, you know?
Probably I would say I learned I think definitely a Black Sabbath song for sure. I think it was War Pigs that they really said, huh, you know, he's taken a very big interest in it, because I'd learned a song by that point. You know, that was a pretty big thing, that I had actually learned a song, you know, that it's one thing to just sit and, you know, just try to
what kind of an
noodle
amp
on it.
what kind of an amp did you set up did you have?
It was a little it's probably about this big and probably about this big. It was an itty bitty amp.
Kind of like this one I got back here.
Similar. It was
Solid
similar.
state. It's a solid state amp.
It was for sure, yeah. But to be honest, Griff, that mine wasn't even as nice as that one. It was raggedy. I don't know where it came from. I don't know, but
I used to have a pig nose.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those are
Those are cool.
Well, the
For
ones
sure.
they're making now, those little solid state amps like Craig's talking about, man, they really scream. They've got all kinds of effects and
technology.
For sure.
But I was telling Zach, when Craig and I were kids, that we had to pick the needle up off the record and keep putting it back and listening. And, nowadays, you've got tutorials on YouTube and things like that. I was listening to that MCA when you were playing that MCA, Zach, and and I've seen Ed King, and he talked about playing the lick on that, and right there in about the middle of that lick when you switch pickups.
Yeah.
I noticed you did that, and I was like, yeah, yeah. So on that particular song, MCA, and that Ed King riff, how did you learn that? Is it something that you watched him do, or was it like a bunch of different things, different people playing, or how'd you come up with that?
Honestly, on that was just YouTube, strictly YouTube. There's a guy, I don't know if you guys may be familiar with him. You probably are. He plays in Artemis's band right now. Scott Rains.
Oh yeah. I've talked to him on the phone before. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he is. He's seen my videos as well, but he was him, and mainly him, really. He was the one that kind of taught me, how to play that, and listen. I did a lot of listening too. I always, that to me, you can learn it from somebody else all day long, but until you sit and listen to exactly what they're doing on the record or live, you're not going to get the same vibe.
Yeah, Craig, so, I asked
Alan,
him.
I wanted to, I think I threw him offline there. We were talking about when he got his first guitar and when he learned War Pigs, because I think Alan was 13 before he even got a guitar, if I'm not mistaken. So
really,
yeah. So what year, how old were you when you actually learned? I think we all grew up was what was the song we all dun dun dun, the Smoke on the Water.
Smoke on the Water.
I think everybody tried to
Purple,
play Smoke on the Water.
Right.
Those are all easy.
So what time? How old were you when you actually got into a guitar?
Seriously, really, really seriously getting into it. I was 13. That's when I started taking lessons.
That's when Alan. That's the exact same age as Alan. Yeah.
Did your dad, Zach? Did your dad go? Wait a minute now. We might have something here. We better buy him a new guitar.
He was. That was probably. I think I was. I was probably 14 by that point. He bought me a Les Paul, my Cherry Burst Les Paul. You can see it in a lot of my videos. It's my favorite guitar still to this day. I don't have it in here right now. I've got my other Les Paul, but it's got a hole or a chunk about this big, probably, of paint.
Well, let me ask you this question: Was Gary ever playing in your town about the time you were born?
No.
because there's a lot. Because there's a lot of people are saying, man, this kid looks just like Gary Rossington. Now Gary watches the podcast, from what I understand, occasionally. So Gary, if you're watching, this guy, what you look like, so
but he got Zach. I've listened to him play Steve Gaines. I've listened to him do Ed King, Alan, Gary. I mean, he just nails them all, man. It's like he's got all their styles down. And Gary's hard. I mean, I don't play guitar, but Gary's hard to imitate.
He's got a certain vibe. Yeah, he's got a feel for sure. Yeah.
Well, he's a versatile guitar player. He can do a lot of different things. But he's consistent. I don't think I've ever heard Gary mess up on a guitar. He's very clean. He's a very clean player.
I don't know if I've ever heard him mess up, to be honest.
Oh yeah, he's just as clean as he can
don't
be.
Ask me that question.
Oh well, Greg, have you ever heard Gary mess up?
A couple times.
He was probably,
got a little sloppy one, drunk a couple of times, and might have screwed up a little bit, but he always pulled it off. But yeah, he did some clunking.
Well, a
That's
lot of times
everybody.
people back in watching those Skynyrd concerts, a lot of them, they were pretty high too. So it's probably hard for them to hear a mess up. So that's how they got away with it.
He never fell off the stage like Leon.
Oh no, I didn't even know Leon fell off the stage.
He just
Oh
right
no.
off the stage.
So whenever you said you got that Les Paul, and that's your favorite guitar. Was that the first one that you got that
It
pretty
was, yeah.
much was an expensive guitar that your dad invested some money in for you? And then what was your next guitar?
My next guitar, I believe. It was the Martin. It was the Martin that I got, which is,
The
it's an
acoustic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only real good acoustic I have. So that was, a lot of my guitars are kind of like lifetime guitars. You know what I'm saying? They're not guitars that, I have a little collection, but it's not like some of these other guys, that have like crazy amounts of guitars. I got what I need, really.
Now, you said you took some lessons. How old were you when you started taking the lessons?
I was 13.
So it was about
13, yeah.
13, and then the guy, you said he taught you the pentatonic scale, and
Right, yeah. Yeah, he
and
taught me pentatonic scale. He taught me I remember the very first lesson I took with him. He taught me Aerosmith's version of Come Together by the Beatles.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and that was the first one. I still remember it. It was like D and F, literally. I think that was the whole song, or most of it at least. And that was the first lesson I had with him.
So did you have like some buddies in the neighborhood that you hooked up with and you guys started jamming?
Unfortunately, I didn't. See, that's what going back to where I live and stuff. That's that was kind of a unfortunate part about living here is I didn't have that. I've had, in high school and stuff, I had some buddies that played, and we put something together, but it never became anything that was like a full band, and we were playing different music than what I like now. It was kind of a different kind of music, but I'll be honest, I'm thankful for that part, of my life in playing and all that, because it made me a more versatile guitar player. It made me more open. It opened my just everything, really. It just I have a bunch of different influences, and I think that's what makes my guitar playing. That's what you hear out of me. I hope that it's kind of unique to other guitar players, because that I have so many, Jimmy Page, Zakk Wylde, Dimebag Darrell, Slash, all these different great influences, Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, Steve Gaines. It's just chock full, of influences. B.B. King, all these, greats have become a part of me. And so, but to answer your question, no, I never had any buddies.
How did you
that
learn
played.
your setup for your guitar and your amp? That's the big thing. You run into a guy who knows how to play guitar really well, and he shows you what he did with his amp, what he did with his cord, and his pedals and things like that. Did you learn that from the internet?
Uh, no, to be honest. Again, my dad, really, he's kind of like, um, not only is he a great support system, but he's kind of like the best guitar tech ever, because he does a lot of research, about it, about just all that stuff. And I've learned a lot from him. I know a lot because of him.
Well, that's the thing Craig and I were talking about, how great that is that your dad supports you like that. That's a rarity, because usually they're thinking, that you're screwing off when you want to do
Yeah.
that. You're
Yeah.
not going to amount to anything, but clearly, right, Craig?
It's so hard to
Yeah.
break into it and actually make a living doing that these days. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
hard.
because
It is.
just so you,
Man, Zach's got a
yeah,
man. He's got a heck of a foot in the door. I'll tell you. He's talking to a lot of people. I mean, he's talking to Ricky Medlock, and he's talking to people that he's got the attention of some people already. I've been watching him for at least a year. I'm going, God, this kid's just a kid.
and here's
And
the thing, Zach, too, that I didn't realize, and Craig's the one that opened my eyes up to it, is um, like Steve Perry and Journey, Lynyrd Skynyrd, when their first album came out, they were broke.
Right.
Craig was riding around with Steve Perry in his Volkswagen, and the guy was broke. He had to loan Lynyrd Skynyrd his credit card so they could eat.
no, put
Now,
gas in the. They
yes,
had to use my credit card to put gas in the vehicles to get to the next gig. Then they'd do the gig and they'd pay me for what they put on my credit card. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was
so
when we were
yeah,
making $5 a day per diem. We were all making $5 a day, and it just raised to from $3 a day. And that was everybody. I mean, the Roadies, all the band, and everybody
Wow.
was just like one. Everybody got $5 a day.
Wow.
yeah. So you got to pay your dues to play the blues.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's but I think though back then things are different now. I mean, you can't even sell records the same way you could back then. It's a whole different way of doing things, and I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. But certainly, you have age on your side. You're really young and talented and young at the same time. And these guys that are like 45, 50 years old and they think they're going to be a rock star, well, that's just not going to happen.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about, exactly, what you're saying, I think that the music, definitely the music uh preference has changed. The times have changed. There's been so many more bands come out since the 70s, and so, the guitar playing, not only music but guitar playing, has the bar has went, it was huge back, greatest guitar players came out of the 70s, but there's, these other kinds of guitar players nowadays that, they to each their own, but I prefer a bluesy take on things. I always have. Always, that's what moves me personally. You know, that's, Pantera, they're a heavy metal band. They're heavy.
Right.
They
Yeah.
play heavy music. But if you listen to Dimebag solos, they're bluesy. They're bluesy
Yeah.
all day
Yeah.
long.
They are. And I think that's why they're different than other bands in that sense. That's
Exactly.
they've got that unique sound.
Right.
Um, um, a lot of bands, they try to do a lot of copying things with the unique, and that's what I was going to ask you. And there's a lot of questions in comments, but there's a lot of questions about like other things that you do, like might be unique. Do you write your own stuff? Is there anything that originals that you have?
There's some original music in the making as we speak. Really, there's only a few things we lack. I'm not sure if we're gonna release a. I'm not sure if we're gonna release singles just yet, or if it's gonna be just kind of an EP type situation. But there's some new music to come for sure, and even a cover or two. But actually, since we're on this topic, I'm working on a project with Brandon Miller, which is another he's a huge Skinner fan. He's been on the show. So for anybody that's seen the show, you probably are aware of who he is, but this week,
he was filling in. He was filling in his guitars for an ARTIMUS's band, doing Alan's parts. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and
he was doing.
he's real cool on Facebook. He builds Alan's guitars, and
He
stuff.
does. He's a huge. I mean, he's a Skinner junkie to the core. He's like to the core. So getting to work with him is going to be really cool. But let's see, today's Tuesday, so here this Thursday, I'm going to be going down. Let's see, we're leaving tomorrow, but I'll be in Nashville Thursday to record a very, very cool project that I think that you guys are really going to enjoy. You and Craig both, I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it. So, you guys look forward to that. Everybody that's watching, look forward to that. It's going to be something that nobody's ever heard before. They've heard it before. It's a cover, but it's never been done before. I'll put it that way. And Brandon wants me to keep it hush hush, so I will. But I will say that you guys have you have something very cool to look forward to.
Yeah, Brandon's already in Nashville. He I guess he got there yesterday, and it's his debut album that he's recording, and then you're going to go and you're going to help him with. Is this thing that you're doing, is it part of the album?
It is. I believe so. I've heard him say that he might be releasing things as singles. I'm not sure. That's all him. It's his album. So, but this is the only thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing one song with him as far as I know, as far as this, right now. By the way, I'd like to come back on the show, and me and him could maybe even do one together talking about our experience with recording what we're about to record, or maybe once it gets released, talking about what we're doing. But
you're welcome back anytime you want to, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
When is your release date on that? Do you have any idea when that is?
Not on that particular song. I know that he's wanting to release the album in March. That's what I've heard. I'll have to talk to him some more about when he might want to release that particular song. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, going back to when you first, you say you were like 13 when you got your Les Paul, and then you got what was the next? Was it an SG that you got from your grandpa?
No, the SG was like my very first guitar.
That was the first one. Then you got the Les Paul. When was it that?
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but to properly get this so there's no confusion, so it was the SG, and then after that I got a Jackson guitar, which was kind of like an Explorer shape. And then I got a Flying V shape, and then I moved on to the Les Paul. But those were just pawn shop guitars. They weren't anything like Gibson or anything like, they weren't really great guitars.
Yeah. So when was it when your dad probably came in the garage and he said, wait a minute here, we might have something here. This kid's starting to get good.
That's hard to say, really. But probably when I really started putting in time for probably, I want to, like, the big one that pops up in my mind right now is I did a talent show in 9th grade, and I wanted to do Sweet Child of Mine, and I think that was probably one of the turning points for sure.
When did you take When did you take over your dad's man cave? You said he used to sit there and listen
Uh,
to radio. When did that happen? How long's that
Yeah,
been your
that
studio?
that's got to be the pivotal
That's
point
got
right
to be
there.
the
Right?
pivotal point when he gave up his man cave. Yeah.
exactly. That probably. I mean, seriously, that probably was it. When I was out here all the time playing. That was
He's probably
that.
out there with you a lot, though, even now, though, isn't he?
He is. He is out here with me a lot. He's back then he was out here, with that sweet child of mine thing, my freshman year of high school.
But you're
Uh,
about like 15, right?
yeah, I was, yeah, just fresh 15, I think.
Did you get that on tape?
I do have that on tape,
Oh,
actually.
we got to see that, man.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I've grown as a guitar player. I can actually play the song right now, is the thing. But everybody loved it that went and went to the talent show and watched. They loved it. So what more can you ask for? If you got people enjoying what you're doing. But he was out here, saying, hey, that's not right. He was telling me, hey, that's not right. You need to fix that. And so that made me, say, just got to hit it harder, just.
So that's the Ronnie Van Zant part of his background there. It's like whenever the difference is when you didn't get it right, Alan and Gary, Ronnie would punch you and bust your teeth out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He never done that, thankfully, but but he would say, that's wrong.
Alan didn't have any backing. Larkin was like a businessman, and he was worked, and everything. And he just thought Alan was just wasting his time thinking he was going to ever be a rock star. He was just, but he found ate his words, though. He finally,
he did. He really did. Yeah.
yeah. He ended up working for Alan. That's about as much worried eating as you could do.
When did your dad hook you up with those Marshalls back there?
I'll tell you the truth. That one right there that's on, that one is actually, that was my first probably my second Marshall. The other one was a little combo amp, but that was the one. That was the one that, I learned. That was the one I played that Sweet Child of Mine on.
Oh, so you've had that a while then.
I have, yeah. And I didn't have these cabinets. I didn't have these Marshall cabinets at that time. I had a little, well, not little, but it's actually still over there. That our other guitar player, he plays through it, but it's a Mesa Boogie cabinet. But that's what I played through, that Marshall and that Mesa Boogie.
Let's talk about those TikTok videos, because I think that's where everybody sees you the most, and where you've got like 1 million followers on that.
Oh,
and
no, not quite, but I do have a lot, thankfully.
Yeah, but so it sounds so professional. How do you do your backing tracks and everything and leave out the parts that you put in? How is that? And then the way you videotape it and your sound, because it's really professional sounding the way you're doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. I tell you what, the usually what I'll do is I'll go to YouTube, type up the song and then backing track, and then I'll pull it up on YouTube. I'll put the link into a converter, which converts it into an MP3, so that my program, my recording program, can process it as audio. And then that's usually what I'll do. And then I'll just all my stuff usually is live. Everything, my playing, what you hear is usually live. I will say sometimes I will put rhythm with it in the background, like that MCA, stuff like that. But I'll tell you something about the MCA video, is that entire everything you hear on that, I made that. So
Oh,
I did,
really?
yeah, I made every bit of it, the drums, the bass, all of it, guitars, everything.
When
I
you
done
say
that.
you made it, you played it?
Well, see, I have a program that I can program in some drums, program in some bass, which takes probably roughly an hour on each one to set and do that. Just that one little 1 minute clip or however long the video was, that took probably, I'm going to say every bit of an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get the bass and drums on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that not including the guitar. And so I did every bit of that. And then I did, of course, the lead guitar, the Strat that you hear. And then towards the end of the video, I don't know, I'm sure, when Alan and Gary are supposed to come back in with the leads, the towards the end of that solo, I did that as well. So I learned that part too.
The video, your camera you're using, it's looks like a pretty good quality, high definition camera. Have you got it? Is it your cell phone?
It is.
I'll
It's
be
just
darned.
my phone. Yeah.
So you're doing that. Your dad's not helping you tape it or anything?
No, that's all me. Every bit of the videos are all me. The social media stuff's all me. Every bit of that's all me. It's just like the I guess what you could call the physical stuff that he has his hands in now, the guitars and occasionally, and most of it is, me. And as far as as far as the learning stuff, every bit of that's me. He's not helping me learn any of that or stuff like that. He's kind of a gear guy, I'll be honest. He likes to sit and dabble in, look up things with the amps and how he can help my sound, just stuff like that. He's very much a kind of a nerd in a way.
On that TikTok where you sent me the files of these videos, I Need You, right?
Right.
Let's just read a few comments that we got whenever I posted that on Facebook. I got a lot of Skynyrd fans on Facebook, and they just love anything like this some things you can post and and you won't even get a comment.
This whole Stoned Roadie project actually started off of off of Facebook. People on FakeBook want me to write a book and stuff. And I'm going, man, I ain't gonna write no book. And then some guy wanted to know if I'd do a Zoom meeting with him as a podcast, and then I had to get the microphone, the camera, and the lights and everything. And then he backed out. And I went, well, here I sit with all this stuff and nothing to do with it. And Griff said, I got a microphone and people are always asking me questions to ask you. Why don't we just do a podcast? I go, yeah, okay, we can start it. And we just started messing around with it. And God did, like I said, this is 54 in about 9 months. So,
and I just had the Stone Roadie fans buy me a new mic. I just collected some money on some Skynyrd memorabilia that I put out there that some people bought. So I'm gonna step up and get me a new mic like you guys. I'm not worthy yet of it, but yeah, that's how it started. Craig, he didn't want to write a book, so he's got so much information in his head, that it's just a waste not to see it all get out there.
Right. Well,
I do the best I can. I'm the only one left really that's willing to do this kind of thing. Kevin, he doesn't want to do anything like this, or Clayton or Johnson or any direct band people. I'm the only one that really is kind of willing to participate in it, and I take it seriously. I mean, it's just amazing to me how much people just still want to know about Lynyrd Skynyrd and all these things that they kind of created a legend or all these things that people ask about, the little fights and people, just all the little things that the stories that were kind of basically overrated or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I was at most of them. Some of them I remember, and some of them I can't.
Craig, Zach reminds me of your grandson Tanner. He loves the Skynyrd music, but I don't think he's so much, into the whole thing about what Skynyrd did back in the day.
No,
and all of that, because I was around Tanner at when I threw this concert in Polk County, and Tanner was over there on his phone while his grandfather was up on the stage, and I go, Tanner, are you getting bored over here? And he goes, well, I kind of heard this stuff before, and so, and then Zach, he was telling me that his dad is the STONED Roadie fan.
He is.
He's the one who watches all the podcasts. That Zach doesn't really watch them. He hasn't watched them. He said he's going to go watch them.
Yeah.
So you probably don't even really know too much about Craig, and
I do. I know probably more than what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, he was the what's your name? He was the
there you go.
One of the crew that had to go with one of the guests. Yeah, I mean, of course, I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't know who Craig was. So, I'm very fortunate that you all let me on, and I'm honored, to be honest, that that I'm even talking.
Hey, it's
to Craig
great to have
now.
you on. I really believe you're going somewhere, man.
And that's what I was saying.
Like you were saying that people like where you're from, they're really not into learning guitar, and it's almost becoming a lost art. And then
it is.
The ones that seem to be really kind of good at it are just kind of just try to play way too fast. They don't have they don't have any feel, like you were saying, like blues stuff. They just think just to play like Guitar Hero, just play as fast as you can.
Right, exactly.
And it's just there's no feel to it. It just gets too much.
And that's what I was gonna say about this when I posted I Need You on Facebook, and the reactions and the comments. The first thing that popped up on the first comment after I posted it was Jeff Gaeska. Holy shit. I mean,
a buddy of mine. Yeah, Jeff's a good friend of mine. He wants a promo picture of Alan Collins. I told him if I have one in my collection, I'll just give him one.
Just to read.
He has a lobster. He has the lobster cookout every year. I want to go to the next one next year. I was supposed to go to this one, and he just bought a house, and his roof started leaking, and right when the lobster bake was coming up, his ceiling caved in.
And then we moved down to Jake Fisher says, I like to see him do some Steve Gaines stuff, and then Mary Witherspoon, untouchable, she says. And Bobby Sanders. Now, I don't know if you know Bobby Sanders. Have you ever heard of Bobby Sanders?
I haven't, no.
He played the namesake Lynyrd Skynyrd, the guy that Lynyrd Skynyrd named their band after.
Yeah.
He played at his funeral.
Really?
He got the very last autograph from Ronnie Van Zant before the plane crash. Huge guitar player, acoustic guitar player. He's got an old Martin that I think it's a Martin that Gene Odom gave him.
Wow.
He is a really good guitar player. And first thing he says is, he is great. That's Bobby Sanders. That guy's a great singer, great guitar player.
Yeah, he played down there at the Survivor thing.
He played there.
Bobby, yeah. Cool
Kathy, Kathy Keeble, she's the one whose granddaughter plays the bass, and Craig knows it. She says she just loves it. Niles D. Nye, amazing, he says. So there's just like list goes on and on and on. These people really enjoy your videos, so keep it up, man. You're doing good.
My son Chad is actually the one that turned me on to Zach. He goes, God,
Yeah.
Dad, listen to this kid, man. He's like crazy, man. It's just, and that was not like a year ago, but yeah, I've been following you a while.
And it's just a matter of time, It's almost like in these YouTube videos, like we were talking about Steve Perry and Journey. Steve Perry quit Journey, and now they've got this like a Vietnamese guy up there singing. So they're going to need either a Gary or an Alan pretty soon. So you're a shoe-in, man. You heard that here first on the
well, I'm very thankful for everybody that commented. I'd like to thank everybody for that, because without them I wouldn't be happy. I'm not anybody without the people that listen and are fans and stuff. So I'm very thankful for them, and I'm super glad that they enjoy what I'm doing.
And
well, you got the attention of the worldwide Stone Roadie show.
Yeah.
And we are worldwide. Mike Estes said he was over in Ireland, and people were saying, we watched the Stone. We saw you on the Stone Roadie show.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, I'm going to do a favor for you right now, Zach. Zach Fingers Lane. All you ladies out there, he's already taken. Okay.
Yeah, I've already got a girlfriend.
He's got a girlfriend, so don't be trying to contact Griff Martin and get his phone number. So, what's your girlfriend's name?
Her name's Jasmine.
Jasmine, see, Jasmine, I'm watching out for you here. I'm helping you out because I know the ladies are going to be coming up. And they're going to be wanting to see what's doing with this Zach
They
Fingers.
got stars in their eyes.
And that's going to be a problem, That's going to be a problem for you. So we've talked about how you got started. We talked about a little project that you're doing. Where do you see Zach going in the future? What is something your dream? What's your dream?
My dream right now is to be able to support myself and my family, play music. That's my dream. It's not, couldn't care less about the fame, couldn't care less about being rich. I just want to be able to make a living, play music. That's it. That's all right now. When I was younger, there was the dream, the dream of being a guitar god. But, I've come to a reality that, like what we were talking about, it's a lost art form. It is. So it's not so much as realistic now. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that I can't do it. I'm not saying anything like that, because anything's possible, So, but right now that's my goal, is just to make a living, supporting my family and supporting myself, playing music, doing what I love.
How's your ego? Alan had the biggest ego there was, man. And he walked into a building. He just said, I'm the baddest mother out here, man.
Yeah.
Just like a gunfighter, just like bring it on, man.
Yeah.
Just bring it on.
I'm not so much like that. Everybody has their moments, what I'm saying, but I try to stay, down with everybody else here on earth. I don't try to get crazy, big head or anything like that. I'm thankful and I'm humbled by everybody that has watched.
Nothing wrong with the ego as long as you can back it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true.
What do you think about country music?
I like some country music. I do. Hank Williams Jr., of course. It's actually lately that I've really been getting into some of his stuff. him, when I was younger, I really liked Brantley Gilbert. I still do. That's kind of, he kind of has a almost like a Southern rock kind of thing, or he used to, it was like harder edge country, it was had a rock and roll kind of thing going on. He did. And, I liked him really good. As far as newer country, no, no, not for me. Like some people call it bro country or whatever, but that's not for me. That's not for me.
So
But
you
older
you
country,
have
for sure.
a band called, you're in a band called Six Gun.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about what kind of songs you guys play. And
Skynyrd, we play, lots and lots of Skynyrd. We play ZZ Top. We play some of Ted Nugent's music. We play, we play Stranglehold. That's the big Ted song that we play. And I'm not going to say I play exactly note for note, but I have learned it pretty much note for note. So that one was pretty rough on me because not only the length, but there's a lot of notes in there. But we play
How many piece band do you have? How many?
Right now it's a 5-piece. We got a singer, drummer, bass player, and me, and another guitar player.
Now, where do you guys usually play? What's your venues?
We play locally usually, but we've played in I don't know if you guys know where Tazewell,
You're too
Tennessee
young to
is.
play in a bar or anything to play sell alcohol, aren't you?
It just depends. Usually, if it's in the state of Virginia, there's some laws that you can't. There's some laws there you can't be 21, or you have to be 21. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then, but in Tennessee and stuff, I think you can be 18 as long as you have a little something on, that indicates that you're under 21.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
So nobody can come up to you and try to push some liquor on you.
Right. Yeah. Well, I tell you, we played in Tazewell at the start of October, and Craig's gonna like this one. We were taking a break. We were on break and intermission, and I'm just kind of walking around, and getting my feel of, how the crowd's doing. And I think I was actually going to go to the bathroom or something. I don't even remember. But I get back towards the bar area, and this guy says, he stops me. He says, "Hey, man, you indulge?" I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" He says, "You indulge." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Do you indulge?" I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, but
see, that's why Uncle Ted would want you to hang out with him. I saw a video of Ted Nugent, and he was in some guy's garage, and he was showing him how to play Ted Nugent songs. I don't know if you can bring that up on YouTube. It was pretty cool. He was in some guy's garage. And he was actually.
Oh, I have seen that video,
actually.
Did
you see that?
Yeah, I did. I
don't know who that guy was, but the guy was like deer in the headlights. He was
right.
Like,
yeah.
It was so cool. And Ted's wife was there, and they were all, they must have, I don't know, met him somewhere and
right
and liked the guy and ended up in his garage. That could happen to you, man.
It could.
You go get you a bow and arrow and start learning how to. Ted said the only fast food he eats is a pheasant.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
You have any questions for Craig? Craig's he's a famous guy, man, and he's a guy hung out with those Skynyrd boys, and
yeah.
I don't know if there's anything that you ever wondered about, like a setup or a rig or.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could sit here and probably ask him a billion questions, really.
What gauge strings do you use?
I use 10s, 10 to 46.
10-13 or 10-12 or
I think it's
10-13.
I think
10-13, 17, 26,
yeah.
36, 46. Yeah.
That's exactly. Yep, that's
What kind of strings do you use?
Ernie balls. They're Ernie balls.
Ernie ball. Yeah. Skynyrd used Dean Markley's. I don't know if they even make
yeah.
those anymore. Yeah.
They do actually. They do still make those.
Yeah.
But,
You know,
people
Zach,
very
they didn't
low.
have a snark back then, man. You know,
really,
yeah, they didn't have a snark back then. How'd you tune them up back then, Craig?
What's that? With a
What did
con?
you use? What did you use to tune the guitars? I
A
was telling
con, a
Bill.
con strobe tuner. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
huh?
A con. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Zach even knows what that is.
I don't know what that is.
I've actually seen that tuner in Craig's desk at his house.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, a con. Everybody used a con. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Instead of A440.
So you got so so they tuned to 440 back in the day. So I guess that's just standard tuning, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
440.
Yeah, it had a little dial on it, E, and you'd hit it and all the little things would go line up, and then A, and then until they all lined up, and D.
Let me ask you, Craig. Did you know, I know on One More from the Road they played Simple Man, but has there been any other times that the old band played Simple Man? Because I've not heard them. Like I've just heard the one.
I lost you. Played Simple Man. What do you mean?
Like, did they ever play Simple Man like more than
Alive?
once? Yeah.
Live? Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Really?
They must not be.
I'm sure
not
it's.
have
I'm
recorded
sure it's. Yeah, it was hard for Ronnie to sing.
Oh, okay.
During a tour, it was. It was hard for him to sing that song. But
Okay.
I'm sure that I think I have a set list here. I'm sure. I think Simple Man's on there. I have to look. I'll get back with you on that.
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I haven't been on the road since 2006. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't remember yesterday a lot of times.
Yeah, I was
I
just
can't
curious
remember.
about
I
that.
can't believe we've done 54 of these podcasts. I think I remember about 4 of them, maybe.
Yeah, I told Craig to go back and look at podcast 21. That's like my favorite podcast.
I was talking about eating mushrooms or something.
And Gene Odom came on there, and we talked to him on the phone, and so for my most favorite STONED Roadie podcast is 21. So go back and listen to that one.
I get, there's
Okay.
people, there's people that are going back and writing me in there saying, man, I watched STONED Roadie podcast all day yesterday. They're like power watch. And I'm going, it's just unbelievable, And I goes, what do you like about it? I goes, oh man, it's like an audio book. You just sit and listen to them.
Yeah, a lot of people do that nowadays. Some of them fall asleep to podcasts.
Yeah, while they're driving, they listen to.
Right.
God, we did a 3-hour podcast. Oh my God,
There was a guy said he watched that twice, and we thought,
watched it and he watched it again.
that's like an 8-hour day at work or something. That's crazy, man.
But we're about an hour 10 minutes into this one, so
Yeah, you'd have never known it was that long, would you, Zach?
No, I wouldn't. Nope.
Hey, do you play slide too, Zach? Do you play slide?
I do.
Do you? What kind of slide do you use?
Let me get one real quick. I'll show you. I got a
grab
few
one.
different ones. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't edit. We just sit here and just keep rolling on. Craig answer the phone and get up and get a glass of tea. I get the doorbell ring and
telephone is ringing.
This right here was the first ever. I don't know if you can see it.
A brass slide.
Oh, brass.
Yeah, that was the first one I ever started messing with, and then right now I use glass, but I just wanted to show you all this one. This one's really cool. It's an old.
That's an old chlorocidin bottle. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's from the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, it's green. I'd never seen a green one before.
Yeah. I don't.
That's wild.
I don't use it anymore. It's
no, that's a piece of history. Yeah, I've never seen a green one. That's cool.
It is.
Where'd you find that? Where'd you find that Corsean bottle?
my papa, my dad's stepdad, he's just he works a lot. He does a lot of electrical stuff around the town, so everybody knows him, small town kind of deal. But I think he either got it off somebody that had dug it up from the local park, or I think that was the case, and he just, because I was looking for
great find.
yeah.
Oh,
I was looking for one,
And that's what Gary uses, right, Craig?
Exactly.
yeah. Glass is a little, I don't know how to explain it. It's like rubbing the difference between a glass and I can't hear it, but and a brass one. The brass one kind of slides easier, and the glass kind of is more gritty.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Alan Gary. Their pick is that Mel Bay pick. It's like gritty on that, and they said when you hit it, it's like sandpaper hitting
like a textured, gnarled pick.
Gnarly.
I heard that they had, instead of using their pick like this, that they had turned it to the side.
They turn it sideways like that, hit it with that gnarly and that knurl. They call the knurl, I guess they call it.
Yeah.
Knurl,
like the handle on a wrench.
Instead of a smooth thing, it's like
like a kind of rough gnarl.
Yeah, kind of rough. Yeah.
So you got another slide there, Zach?
No, that
was which one do you use?
Surely it's out here. I don't know. It's just like a standard glass slide, though. It's just nothing. It's nothing fancy or anything. It's just glass.
So your favorite top 3 songs to play, what would they be?
Freebird.
That's
that one. Oh man, that's a tough one. Besides Freebird, that Freebird's just every time I love it.
You blew me away with Ed though, man. Ed's hard to copy too, man. You get those little chirps in there.
Yeah, that was that MCA one was tough because it's he had a strange way of doing things, strange way of playing.
Yeah. Mike Estes said the same thing. He said Ed had a strange way to play,
Right, he did, and but it became, it was a signature sound for those first 3 albums.
Oh yeah,
his solos, like on "Am I Losing?" just it's great. That one, and his slide work was exceptional as well.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people realize he played on Don't Ask Me No Questions. And, one of my favorite slide solos that he done was Woman of Mine. And it's on it's on that Collectibles album.
He did Curtis Lowe too, didn't he? Didn't he do the Curtis Lowe slide?
He did. He did. Yeah. So not a lot of people know that. Everybody thinks Gary was the big slide guy, and he was, but Ed did a lot of slide work too, especially on those those 2 albums, Second Helping and Nothing Fancy. Yeah,
that's what I was telling Zach. I said, if Ed King were still alive and he saw Zach's videos, I just think he would invite him over to the house, because he appreciated somebody that did things the right way, on covers that they were trying to play. And for note, I mean, that MCA, man, he nailed that.
He would get on Facebook and literally show people how to play the songs,
Yeah. I talked to him several times on Facebook, like 2:00 in the morning. He would still be awake, like 2-3 months before he died. And he's a very personable guy. He didn't really he didn't care. He talked to anybody. He's like Craig. You can call Craig up anytime, man. And
hey, Larry.
See that guy right there that just called?
Yeah, I'm doing a podcast right now, though. Call me in about a half hour.
Yeah, so I tell you what, we might find some questions on here for you, but I think we may have covered them already. This guy, John Dara. Hey, John Dara, man, I know who you are. and this guy loves you.
I've seen a lot of his.
Yeah, I think he's a security guy that he's done a lot of security for a lot of bands and things. He says, "Oh my God, you gave him goosebumps." And you know, he's I think he's a guy from up like around Massachusetts area. And
yeah, he seems like a really cool guy.
Trudy Smith says he blew me away. Now this Joey Edwards looks like Gary. I'd be more impressed if he could pull off Ed's backing guitar.
On which
In other
song?
words, probably any of it, you know.
Probably
I
the
Need
breeze.
You.
Probably the
breeze.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I'm
Yeah, have you
that's-
ever noticed Ed whenever the rest of the guys are playing and he's just kind of fingering some chords around?
yeah, I have. You know, every time I watch
I
them.
think that's what he's talking about. You know?
Okay, so just like yeah, some of the weird noodly.
They're not like bar chords, you know. They're just
No.
he's got like he's got his different chords, but you know, he's just kind of throwing them out there like
Well, if he's talking about "I Need You," yeah, I mean that rhythm part is so outside of the box. It's almost jazzy.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
unique. It makes it sound so big, you know.
it really does, and I don't know. Craig might know if that was double tracked or not, but that was a huge sounding album, and Street Survivors was a huge sounding album too. That production on that album was is good.
Well, Craig, you know, I think Zach's been a great guest, and whenever Brandon Miller gets back out of the studio and you guys have done your thing, give us a shout, man. We want to hear it. We want to hear it before anybody else does. So let us know, and then we'll get you back on here, and we'll talk about what you did and how you did it and where you're going from here. You got anything else for Zach, Craig?
No, that's about it for me. I guess it's about that time where I start singing happy trails to you until we meet again. See you next time on the Stone Roadie Show with your host, the world famous Craig Reed, and his co-host Griff Martin. Bye-bye.
And the great Fingers Lane.
After a while, crocodile.
We'll see you.
Here we go. Oh, there's the button. See you later.
Bye.
Later.